Ethan Rowe wiped the sweat from his brow as the twin sons of Kepler 442b began their descent toward the horizon. The wheat fields stretched endlessly before him, golden stalks swaying in the artificial breeze generated by the terraforming stations. 5 years he'd been here, carving out a life on this frontier world, and he'd never seen anything like what was approaching now. 3 figures emerged from the tree line at the edge of his property. Their skin was pale, not just pale, but luminescent white like moonlight given form. They moved with an unsettling grace, their elongated limbs carrying them forward in a way that made Ethan's hand instinctively move toward the plasma rifle leaning against his harvester, the Kale Thyr. He'd heard stories in the colonial hub about the albino species that inhabited the darker regions of this planet. Stories of raids, of colonists who ventured too far and never returned. Stories of ivory claws and eyes that could see in absolute darkness. Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs as the family drew closer. The tallest one, a female he guessed from the flowing robes that covered her frame, led 2 smaller figures. Children, perhaps, her head turned toward him, and even from this distance he could see the deep crimson of her eyes like rubies set in porcelain. His fingers wrapped around the rifle's grip. Colonial law permitted defensive action against hostile indigenous species. 1 shot and he could scatter them. 1 shot and he'd be safe. But something made him hesitate. The female stopped at the boundary of his field where tilled earth met wild grass. She raised 1 hand, 4 fingers, he noted, longer than human digits, palm outward. The universal gesture for peace, or at least he hoped it was universal. "Stay back," Ethan shouted, his voice cracking slightly. He hated that he sounded afraid, but fear was honest. And honesty kept you alive on frontier worlds. The female tilted her head, and then to Ethan's absolute shock she spoke in perfect, unaccented standard English. "We mean no harm." Ethan Rowe of Earth, his blood turned to ice. How did she know his name? How did she know his language? "How?" he started, but she interrupted, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We have been watching," she said simply. "Learning. We are Cyrillin, and these are our young." She gestured to the 2 smaller figures who huddled close to her legs, their oversized eyes fixed on Ethan with curiosity rather than malice. "The stories," Ethan said, not lowering his rifle. "They say your kind attacks humans. That you're dangerous." Cyrillin's expression shifted, not quite a smile, but something that conveyed sadness. "And what do your stories say about humans, farmer? Do they speak of the villages we found burned? Of the hunting parties that track us through the dark forests for sport? Of the children taken when they wandered too close to your settlements?" Ethan's grip on the rifle loosened slightly. He thought of Marcus Chen, the hunter who boasted loudly in the colony bar about his exotic trophy collection. He thought of the governor's policy of aggressive expansion into indigenous territories. "I haven't," he began, but Cyrillin stepped forward and he tensed again. "We know," she said softly. "We have watched you, Ethan Rowe. You plant and you harvest. You tend your machines when they break. You speak to your communication device about missing your mother on Earth. You leave portions of your crop at the forest edge." Ethan felt his face flush. He had been leaving excess produce at the boundary, though he'd told himself it was just a compost. Deep down, he'd hoped something might find it useful. "We are hungry, farmer," Cyrillin continued, and now her voice carried genuine vulnerability. "The great machines that change your air and water have driven the game away. The rivers we fish run dry or burn with chemicals. We do not wish to fight. We wish only to survive as you do." One of the children stepped forward, no higher than Ethan's waist, and extended something toward him. In the fading light, Ethan saw it was a woven basket, crude but functional, filled with dark purple berries he didn't recognize. "Mirashen berries," Cyrillin explained. "They grow in the deep caves where your people cannot reach. They are sweet, rich in nutrients, a trade offering." Ethan stared at the basket, then at the rifle in his hands, then back at Cyrillin's crimson eyes. In them he saw no malice, no predatory intent. He saw only a mother trying to feed her family, same as any human in her position. Slowly, deliberately, he set the rifle down. "I have questions," he said finally. Cyrillin's lips curved upward slightly. "And we have time. The night is long and your sons are gentle." As darkness settled over the wheat fields, Ethan Rowe invited the albino alien family into his modest homestead. They sat around his table, built for humans but accommodating enough, and ate together. Sierra Lynn told him of her people's history on this world, of civilizations that rose and fell long before humans ever gazed at stars. Her children, shy at first, eventually warmed to him, their luminescent skin casting a soft glow in his dimly lit kitchen. Ethan shared his rations and listened, truly listened, for the first time since arriving on Kepler 442b. When Sierra Lynn and her family finally departed into the night, Ethan stood at his doorway and watched their glowing forms disappear into the forest. He thought about the stories, about fear, about the space between species that violence had carved, and he thought about bridges. The next morning he began constructing a larger table,